Welcome to Education Today. I'm John Zish from Armstrong School District, and tonight we're picking up where we left off last week with part 2 of our look at Lieutenant Charles T. Hutchinson, a 1960 graduate of Katanning High School who the gym was named for in a ceremony in February of 2010. We have some outstanding guests with us tonight, assembled just for this occasion. Welcome to Education Today, everybody. I'd like to see if you'd take a moment and introduce yourselves to our viewers.
I'm John Shaner from Katanning, a retired school employee and a retired former principal at Katanning High School and a member of the class of 1960.
I'm Dave Schreckengast and also a member of the class of 1960. I was the class president that year and co-captain with Charlie on the basketball team of 1960 and presently living in Marietta, Georgia.
All right.
I'm Vicki Hutchison Niederkorn. I'm Charlie's or Hutch's younger sister, and I'm living in the Big Island of Hawaii now, and I came back for the most special event ever.
Oh, that's great.
I'm John Helgren, retired AT&T employee, living here in Katanning. I was one of Hutch's teammates on the 1960 team also.
Wow.
I'm Joe Atwood. I'm from Katanning. I was a sophomore in the 1960 basketball team. I was a guard.
This is great. We have assembled a dream team of guests to talk about this singular individual, Lieutenant Charles T. Hutchinson. And we are going to see some footage, I believe, of the amazing ceremony that was held February 5th, where they renamed the Katanning High School Gymnasium after Hutch, as he was known. So let's take a look at that footage. It was graciously brought to us by the TV production students of Katanning High School, led by their teacher, Mr. Josh Miklos. Let's take a look.
Good evening. Welcome to Katanning High School. My name is Jim Rummel. I'm the principal of Katanning High School. It's my pleasure to be MC of this dedication ceremony tonight. We are here tonight to honor Lieutenant Charles T. Hutchinson by dedicating the Katanning Senior High School Gymnasium in his name. Our speakers for tonight, Mr. David Schreckengast, and Mr. Thomas Kern. Finally, a special welcome to Miss Vicki Hutchinson Niederkorn, sister of Lieutenant Hutchinson. Lieutenant Hutchinson was arguably one of the finest basketball players ever to play at Katanning. He attended the U.S. Military Academy in West Point and graduated in 1964. Lieutenant Hutchinson was a platoon leader who volunteered to lead a patrol into rebel-held territory on May 10, 1965 in the city of Santo Domingo and was tragically shot and killed trying to rescue a fellow soldier. Lieutenant Hutchinson died heroically, giving the ultimate service and sacrifice to his country while trying to rescue a fellow soldier. Before we proceed with our speakers, I'd like to read a special letter. To the Katanning Senior High School community, this is truly a special evening. I am so happy that the 1960 section championship team is being recognized and that the gymnasium is being named to Lieutenant Charles T. Hutchinson Memorial Gymnasium. I'm sorry that I could not be with you in person. As a former West Point basketball player and captain, it would have been my honor to be there. I hope my few words will be meaningful on this most memorable night. In this gymnasium 50 years ago, Hutch stood tall with his teammates game after game. He was the leading scorer in the state and was the leader of this remarkable group of young men who became champions. To witness his athletic and leadership skills in high school must have been quite an experience. The lessons of leadership, teamwork that he learned on the basketball court at Katanning would later be taken to a higher level during his time at West Point, and once he graduated, he proved to be the ultimate leader for his men as a lieutenant. Tonight, in dedicating this gymnasium, we are honoring his memory in a magnificent way. We are also giving an opportunity for the young men and women who play in this gymnasium the opportunity to follow Hutch's example as an athlete, as a leader, and as a remarkable human being. I'd I'd like to congratulate the members of the 1960 section championship team and the Hutchison family. I hope that I will get an opportunity one day to be in this special gymnasium. My very best wishes, sincerely, Mike Krzyzewski, head basketball coach at Duke University. I would now like to introduce Mr. David Schreckengoss, president of the class of 1960, and senior point guard of the AHS 1960 championship basketball team.
"50 years ago, I went off to Westminster College. First thing I did was walk into the gymnasium. I looked at the trophy case. In the trophy case were all these awards that people had won at Westminster. And then I saw this black and white picture. And I read underneath the picture, so-and-so, so-and-so, and Smokey Dunhire of Katanning, Pennsylvania, a member of the 1942 NIT runner-up championship team. I looked at that picture and I thought, man, that's a long time ago. And here I stand, 50 years later from that point, really thinking that these kids over here are going to look at me as not a whole long time ago. All right? I can't thank this school district. I can't thank the administration. I can't thank the athletic director. I can't thank the school board for doing something that is so deserving and just such a nice compliment to a fine young man who obviously was not here as long as I was. I want a message for that team over here. I want you to know that whenever we were 7th graders, we won 1 game. When we were 8th graders, we won 2. When we were 9th graders, we won 3. When we were sophomores, we won 4. When we were juniors, we won 5. And in 1960, we were section champions. Okay? It didn't come about because it just happened. It came about for a lot of reasons. Some of those reasons are the Joe Atwoods, the Bill Emmingers, the Jerry Thompsons that joined us seniors to play. Some of the reasons were the guys who didn't play as much on the floor, but actually worked hard in practice for the teams we played against on the floor. It takes a team effort, but it also takes work on your part, Wildcats. You understand this? It doesn't just happen. Your coach is practicing with you every day during the season. So is every other team. This is not when you become better. You become better doing what Charlie Hutchison did. You become better whenever you take the off season and you shoot, and you shoot, and you shoot. He was a 6'4" guy who at that time could probably translate into a 6'10" guy today. And he played.
I also happen to be his roommate at the military academy. I was less than a half mile away from him when he lost his life. I want to recognize the people here. There's one message I want to communicate. It's how special this group is. And it's really makes some sense when you try to figure out why everybody thinks that Charlie is so special. And by special, let me say this. Last Labor Day, we, people from the class of 16 and myself, put together a memorial service down at the graveside in Apollo. Think about this. Charlie lost his life 50 years ago. 45 years ago, I'm sorry. 40 people showed up for a memorial service. That's just unbelievable. 40 people would show up 45 years later to remember something. It wasn't any one reason. It was because he was very, very special. I'd like to recognize the school board. This wouldn't have happened without their saying, go do it. The principal of the school, the AD, the basketball coach, the student body, the cheerleaders, what we call the cheerleader moms. All those people did an awful lot of work to put this program together. In addition, there were a lot of people from outside, classmates, people that aren't here tonight that don't want to be mentioned, who put things together for this special occasion. On January 18, 1960, I was a member of the alternate basketball team, and I don't know if there's anyone here other than the basketball team who remembers that. We came to Contaning, played Contaning High School in this gym. And my coach, Jim O'Donnell, went out to them. I remember him saying, "You're going over," we didn't come over here to play basketball. We mostly played in South Pennsylvania. You're going to Western Pennsylvania, and you're going to play a smaller school. So they have a guy on that team who will be the best player you play against this year. He's big, he's 6'5", and understand in 1960, 6'5" was a huge person. 6'5" guys played center. And there weren't 5 or 6 guys that Altoona played, which is one of them boys for. All year long we were that big. So he was big, and coaches said to big guys, get underneath the basket, get the rebounds, give it to the little guys. This guy is not like that. This guy has the sweetest shots you've ever seen. This guy doesn't need the backboard. He can play without a rim. All he needs is a net. And that's exactly what we saw. He proceeded to score 34 points on us. Now, Buchanan didn't win, but this is a real tiny school. Altoona High School has 3,000 kids, and it was only a 9-point game. Tremendous basketball game. After that game, unknowing to me, and me unknowing to him, we both were being recruited by the military academy. We both had positive feelings about going to the academy. And don't ask why, we were 18 years old, and it seemed like the thing to do. I mean, it was a school of Dwight Eisenhower and Douglas MacArthur and George Patton. What an opportunity to be a leader. Hutcher's father was a leader in this community, so it's very natural for him to want to be a leader. However, we never thought we would have an opportunity to go to college. We were blue-collar people. We just didn't go to school. All of someone's knocking on our door, we want to give you an education. So we took the college boards, he here, myself in Altoona, and we didn't do so well. Hence the story about off studying. But we were offered the opportunity to go to prep school to work on the college boards. So the first of May, we left high school, never graduated with our class, and went to a school up close to West Point called Raines to learn how to take the test. 6 weeks later, we took the college boards. This is middle of June. 5 days before the class of 64 entered West Point, we got a phone call, be at West Point in 5 days. The day after the 4th of July, we entered the academy. Again, we knew each other, we both knew each other at Raines, so we had started this relationship. When we get to the academy, we were not really making.
Well, so his senior jacket as well, you know. And this fits. Dave's is a little small. Bill's a businessman in the area here. He's done quite well for himself, and he was another senior that was on the team. Chuck McDermott was another senior that was on the team. Chuck intended to be here tonight, but the weather kept him away. And Alan Schaefer was also a senior on the team, and unfortunately Alan's deceased. So we got our juniors. Our other junior players were John Helgren, stepping up. John was away from the area for quite a while, moved back to the area, and then resides back here. He's kind of my personal bodyguard. I keep him close. I need him. You know, to guard me from the rest of those old men out of McDonald's in the morning. Larry Adams was also a junior ball player, as was Bob Black, and they're unable to be here. They lived out in the New York area and got into the heavy snow. 2 others were Denny Yates and Tom Leonard. Denny Yates is unable to be here. Tom Leonard, unfortunately, is deceased. But another great guy and the final junior on that varsity team was Tim Kay. Tim? Tim also is a veteran, and he serves on the Armstrong County Memorial group that serve at the veterans' funerals and so on. And this summer, whenever we had the memorial for Hutch down at the Apollo Cemetery, Tim was there with the rest of his men, and we really appreciate that. Jim Martin and Wayne Friedenberger were the managers of that team. Neither one of them are able to be here tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, the coach of that team was a man by the name of John Remy. John was a physical education teacher here at the high school, a great guy, left the area and eventually went back up to Bald Eagle in the area where he was from as a principal, and unfortunately he too is deceased at this time. However, the coach of the junior varsity team is with us tonight. Red along, Red's a special person in everybody's mind, and Red's done a great job over the years. Baseball, basketball, football, or at least two of those sports. And Red, the coaches kind of did the same thing. John Remy was a varsity basketball coach. He was an assistant coach in football. Red was a varsity football coach and an assistant coach in basketball. And I'll tell you what, I played golf with Red a few years ago. Whenever he was.
Well, I know many of our viewers are speechless at hearing that moving story of how we lost such a great man, and that's why the renaming of the gymnasium is a bittersweet thing, but it's also a celebration of his life. And,
Oh, yeah.
I was just wondering how the idea for that originated. We touched on that with, I guess, Coach Bill Henry getting that in, but what sort of events were on tap that night?
Well, I went to a football game in October, and I saw Bill Henry there. And at halftime, I went over and told him, I said, next year is going to be 50 years since we won this section in basketball. I said, do you think it would be possible if I could get a hold of the JV team and the varsity members, if we'd come back and you could introduce everybody at halftime? He said, it sounds like a great idea. And that's where it started. So then I contacted Todd Harvey, the athletic director at Katanning, and he thought it was a good idea, and Mr. Rummel, the principal, and we started working on it a little bit. But then a couple weeks later, I thought, we're going to introduce the 1960s team. This would be a great time to have the gym named after Charlie. So then I went down to the administration building, talked to Dr. Garetano what I had to do, and he said we had to write a letter describing why we thought that it should be named after Charlie Hutchison. Well, that's whenever I recruited Dr. Shaner to write my letter. So he wrote an excellent letter, and Dr. Kerr, the superintendent, got on board with it and did an excellent job of presenting it down there. And they voted unanimously to have this done.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I really can't tell you that to thank enough the people that were involved, because Dr. Kerr and Dr. Garetano both supported this from the very beginning. Dr. Kerr took enough interest in it that he wrote the resolution himself, and you were there, of course, and on the night that they brought the resolution to the board, they had a nice video presentation, and the resolution was written in such a way, and both Bill Kerr and Frank Garetano presented this, and to the point that there was really no way that the board could not vote unanimously for it. I mean, it was presented in such a great fashion. And then from the time that that was accepted, Mr. Rummel, Todd Harvey, Bill Henry, people at the high school, they've been fantastic. I mean, they have gone out of their way and went out of their way to try to prepare everything for the night of the dedication. They assumed an awful lot of responsibilities. The students got behind it. Joe Kowalczyk's video communications class developed and made the plaques that are hanging over the door. They did those on a laser engraver and with a laser engraved photos of Hutch, and Todd Harvey had signs made for the gymnasium. In the summer, they're going to paint the floor. You know, whenever they redo the floor, they'll do it like they do at the Peterson Event Center or so on. They'll put the Hutchison Court on the floor.
Oh, wow.
And you know, they just really stepped out. Joe Kowalczyk, again, I mentioned Marley Atwood, one of the students there. She did a lot of the work. They developed the program. The Mothers Athletic Club came out and did everything that they could for us, you know, and the team and the Mothers Athletic Club were willing to give some of their time that they had focused on senior night to this dedication. So I mean, everybody that was involved just stepped forward to do it.
It was a joint effort from everybody.
You know, it's a nice thing too. I can remember back in 1960, I went off to Westminster, and I went into the field house, and you look through all the trophies that are in there and that sort of thing, and I saw this black and white picture of a 1942 team, all right? And I read the caption that said, "And Smokey Dunmeyer of Katanning, Pennsylvania," you know, that sort of thing. And I remember looking at that picture thinking, whoa, that's like 100 years ago, you know? And it was like 18 years ago. Now here we are 50 years later. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate all these people that John and Joe have talked about here, bringing back a memory. Quite frankly, most of the people weren't born at that time period. We understand that, okay? But we also appreciate that. I mean, it's just nice that people do go back and do something like that. So.
And I thought it would have been nice too to have all of our fans that came to the games then, because we always played in front of a packed house. And a lot of our fans then were probably 40-year-old men, and now they're 90. So,
if they are at all.
Yeah. There's probably not a whole lot of those people at the game.
That's
at the dedication tonight.
And then Joe made an effort to contact every member of the 1960 team that there are, in addition to Charlie, there are 3 or 4 fellows that are deceased. But Joe made an effort to contact everybody to bring them back, and everybody agreed to be there. You know?
Well, it speaks to how much impact he still has today, and the
Well,
relevance and how
yeah.
he speaks to today's generation. It inspires us.
Vicky came in from Hawaii. Okay, that's his sister. All right, but we also have people that came in from Texas, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona, classmates. They didn't play basketball with them. Okay, they just wanted to be here for this. They just thought it was a special thing to do. So.
Well, I guess I would just like to say thank you to everybody that was involved in the renaming of the gymnasium. And, you know, for all of us, you know, Hutch was a very special sort of a person, and you know, he stands out as a West Point cadet, as a soldier, as a winner of the Silver Star, the Purple Heart, the Combat Infantryman's Badge, other campaign medals. But to most of us, he was simply Hutch, a good friend. To Vicky, of course, a brother. But I'm glad that we had the opportunity to share what we know about him with the public.
Indeed.
Back in the early part of our life in 1960, Bill Mazeroski hit a home run. I know where I was standing whenever he hit the home run. All right. I know where I was standing whenever John Kennedy was assassinated. I know where I was standing when Franco Harris caught his immaculate reception. Okay. I can also tell you where I was standing whenever I heard the news that Charlie Hutchison had been killed. I can tell you who I was talking to. I can tell you the time of day. I can tell you all those things. It was a brand that was left on you. I'm sure that virtually everybody here can recount that same sort of a feeling. But it was also almost an unreal feeling. It just wasn't possible. I mean, I remember going to the funeral almost like, this is not, I think John last night we were talking about it, said this is all surreal. I mean, it just wasn't, it wasn't even, and I think it took us a long time to grasp the reality of of our loss on that situation. And it really was a loss. It was a loss for his family, obviously. It was a tremendous loss. But it was just something that we weren't really at that age quite capable of coping with. We just sort of went on before it sunk in. And that was the impact that Charlie had.
Indeed.
And for me, it means many things. But first, I do want to thank everybody. All of these people and the whole community, and everybody just came together to do something that I never thought would happen. And especially this long afterwards, it's just so special. And I wanted to mention, I've told this story to a few people, but when Charlie was killed, you know, I was a young teenager. And I had a teenager's dream that that gym, excuse me.
That's
would be
okay.
Hutch's
Yeah,
gym.
take your time.
And it's always going to be Hutch's gym to me. But I never, ever.
Now it's officially Hutchins.
Now it's officially Hutch's
Hey.
gym. And it's just unbelievable to me.
It is.
It's unbelievable that that dream never shared with anyone. Never told anyone. Who would share a dream like that? It was not doable. And here we are. You know, we were standing there on the basketball floor in Hutch's gym. And the other thing it means for me is that his memory will live on, his story will be told years from now, and that's all I want in life. So, thank you.
Very well said. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
John?
From my perspective, you know, it takes, as David said earlier, it takes you back to a special time for all of us, with a very special, talented basketball player, and even more so, a special friend that most of us grew up with from the time we started playing in the alleys until we won the section championship. And it's just, it's wonderful that this has all happened and taken place, as Vicki said.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that probably should have taken place a long time ago. And it's a great honor to be part of it.
Yes.
Very much for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, John, for
Yes.
having us.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's indebted to each of you for making this such a great show for our viewers about such a meaningful event in the life of the community, and a great person indeed, who we lost much too early.
Much too early.
Yeah, much
right.
too early, that's right.
John,
Yes,
but it is a celebration.
that's right.
Yeah.
It is. It's a celebration.
right.
It's
You're
a
right.
celebration.
That's right.
And that's the way he would have wanted it, and he'd have been the biggest celebrant.
That's good.
Yeah, that's right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, you've all shared a lot today, and I really appreciate it. That's our show for today. I'd like to thank our guests, Vicki Hutchison-Niederkorn, David Schreckengast, Joe Atwood, John Helgren, and Dr. John Shaner for making this show possible. I'd also like to thank the TV production students of West Shamokin High School, led by their teacher, Mr. Ren Steele. They were our film crew today. Please join us again next week for another look at the Armstrong School District. Visit our website for updated news about the district, and have a great week.